Attack the Caro Kann, an easy to learn weapon for white. Getting an attacking position against the Caro Kann can be very difficult and frustrating, but while I was building the GM Talks repertoire for black, I found a rather annoying variation, to say the least, that I'm going to show you here so you can play it as white. This is, by the way, a good way to work. You find something for the other side and you just say, okay, I'm going to switch. I'm going to play this as white. But I'm working on a plan B for white, for black in the Caro Kann against the advanced variation. So here is about attacking the Caro Kann. We're gonna see 3 games. We're gonna see them a little bit fast after the opening phase, which we will delve into. It's a very simple idea, and it's very kind of easy to learn. So let's get on with it. Well, the Caro Kann, of course, start e4, c6, and this is the advanced variation. And we had a little bit discussion about what to play here as black. Should we go c5, which is kind of a little bit illogical, but also a little bit annoying for white, that will get a sort of advanced French on the wrong foot, where he has taken on c5? Or should we go bishop f5? And bishop f5 is definitely the most Caro Kann-ish move. It's why we played c6 and d5, to get this bishop out. The problem with having this bishop out is that white has a lot of ways to annoy it. And I was developing a repertoire for black, looking at the different simple ways he can play. He can play h4, he can play knight c3, and so on. And I was starting with this move, which is supposed to be bad. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not bad at all. Black could, of course, say that okay, I'm not gonna insist and go back here. Then you've spent 2 tempi getting your bishop to this weird square. But of course, the plan is simply this and here. The problem is that this space advantage and the developing advantage white is getting might be a big problem. And I think it seems that after something like this, white is simply a little bit better. It will be weird on the queen side, king side, and suddenly black might be able to control some squares, but I'm not really a big fan of this. And white is always ready to open the position and castle queen side and blast black away in the center. So this is it's possible, but the main move is, of course, bishop e4. By the way, white's idea is if he goes here, then we'll go h4, and if you go something like this, I say, and then e6, and that's very annoying. This you'll have, and something like this, you will have really bad white squares, to say the least. So and this bishop here, you don't want to exchange it, but you don't want to keep it either, because it's going to be a big bad pawn on f7, and if you exchange it, then the king here is having trouble on the white squares, and this bishop pawns here is keeping this guy locked in. So this is the idea behind d4, even though d4 looks crazy, but just annoying the bishop immediately. But the main move is bishop e4, attacking the rook, and f3, bishop d6. And here the main move has been h4, h5, e6, and then queen d6 is good. So let's just see that, just to e6. It might not be so clear, but this has been the main line, and here we have white as a problem here, and after something like this, black will get his development out, and white's position looks weird, a little bit suspicious, right? This is still very unclear after something like knight e2. But then someone came up with this move, just playing e6. Kind of cool move, by the way. Kind of cool move. Just saying, and I like this also in the Aliechen. The idea, of course, is to attack onto white squares and keep this guy in and making black's position weird. Black has two options here. He can, and the main move is Queen D6, so we're going to look at that mostly. We just say he could take, but then after something like this, then he's definitely going into the other line where he didn't play Queen D6, and after here, I prefer white. There are giant holes in the G file and E5 and so on. And of course, both sides have a position that kind of stinks, but I think white's black's is stinking a little bit more. So I would prefer to be white here. It's something, if you're going to play this line, you have to look into this for sure. But the main move is Queen D6. Just like in the other line with H4, H5, getting the queen out, getting ready for castling, and hoping to do that something like this, of course. And white takes, and bishop takes, and knight here. This has been played in quite a few games, and it seems black is doing rather badly from this position, and I don't really like it. I don't like this weird stuff here. It's in this game, Adam Kozak versus Daniel-Bogdan black played this move, and white took, and something like this here, and we see that white is getting a development very quickly. And after here, in this position, Kozak played Queen D2, but I think taking here is better. And after something like this, and castling this side, I think white is better. I think it's an unpleasant position, and this structure here makes it difficult for black to play. The computer definitely prefer white here. He played Queen D2, and they had something like this, and it was more of a mess. I don't know how to think of this. And this here, they took a draw. I don't know if it was a pre-arranged draw. It probably wasn't. I don't think Bogdan does this kind of thing. So anyway, I think after this move here, I would definitely prefer to be white. I think white has more. By the way, often a very unpleasant. There is some pin here going on. There's also sometimes a check, a queen here, and this pawn is very often hanging. So look out for that. There's also a knight coming to this square. Make that yellow. Maybe something like this. And this bishop is kind of not so easy. This bishop can also be very strong sometimes. So it's not. I don't really trust this. So instead, what Keymer did and what Howell did is probably more interesting. So let's go back and see. They played knight here, preparing e5, and what white did here was what's also annoying, because if e5 is not good, because you lose a lot of tempi, white got a lot of moves for free there, then it's also annoying not getting e5 in, because what about this guy? What about this guy? And what about this square here? Here we are following Grandelius versus Keymer. Very important game. And you could play in another game. There was I'm just going to see the game. Some games here. This was played in Howell, in Hauge versus Howell, and Howell lost this game. And this kind of position is also a little bit weird because black has problems with his square and white has problems with this square. But I think it's easier to play for. Sometimes this will come. We'll play for white even, and he did end up losing this position here. I think here it's very unclear. It's not clear that anybody is better at this point. Anyway, Howell did lose to Lars Oscar Hauge, which is always noteworthy. That when he is usually a very strong player, Howell, and he's very hard to defeat. He's a very good defender. So anyway, Grandelius played knight f3 against Keymer. Keymer is also an expert on the, and he played. We had this move, and here he had, and this looks interesting. So trying to put pressure on the f4 pawn and sort of exploiting that white has. It would be if you could just put this back here, then white would be totally positionally winning, because black would just have a huge problem with the white squares on the king side, and there would be no problems. So d4 is the only reason why white is not completely winning, and here we see that it's not so easy. You cannot take, for instance. Then comes something like this, and take and rook f1. So you have to probably do this, and white is very fast developed here, and black can't castle due to this knight here, and white is just ready to do something like this and castle and put pressure on this pawn. And I don't like this for black. And when I saw this game, I realized that, okay, until somebody solves this for black, I'm probably gonna play something different, probably 3c5, which is seems you don't get into this kind of mess. Just developing, and of course he's not gonna castle, and white is just much better here. Very on. And white's and black did manage to prevent the you cannot castle over this square, but still after something like this, black is in trouble. It's just getting ready for this push, and it's of course easier to beat in a way and castle. And here yes, white has these problems, but black has more problems, and white is much more active. And this is, by the way, the key to these positions is that white gets very active, and it's so these positional considerations, these squares and so on, they are not. I'm gonna make them red. They're not that important if you get blasted. You just go poof, it doesn't matter. And this is because see here, in structural sense, you can say that white's structure is not better than black's, but he does have the initiative, which is very important. And there are problems on here. There are problems. Well, basically there are problems everywhere. And this is a pin here. It gets very complicated here, but we're just gonna go through it rather quickly, attacking the rook. And we see that the funny thing here is black is on the line here. He has to find a way to defend, and white's king is just, it's just, keep doing that kind of thing. It's just totally safe. So black did get to, but we still see this problem with the king and a lot of pieces. And here white has won the exchange, and this ending he did end up converting rather easily, even though Keymer defended rather well. This was played in Riga in 2021. I think it was a rapid game, to be honest. So this line is a problem for black. Just g4 and sacrifice the pawn with e6, and it's very easy to play. But of course you have to find something against 3c5, which we cannot cover in this video. This was DM Talks with an attacking line against the Caro Kann. By the way, we have introduced a membership for GM Talks. So if you want to be a member of GM Talks, we will provide you with special things that only members get. And at the moment, we don't have any members, so you never know how good it's going to get until you become a member. And of course, you can always unsubscribe. So it's not that dangerous to become a member. Anyway, we are trying to. It seems like GM Talks is having content that people like, and of course we are trying to, well, not lose that much money, right? Because we are, of course, not making much money from it right now, and we hope it will make a little bit in the future. So it's not a problem of financing it to keep the channel going. This was TM Talks. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, even though it was white against the Caro Kann.